And I am just curious if you have ever had mom rage take over. There's something that your kids do, you ask them to do something and they completely ignore you, or you are in the other room, you're cooking dinner, and you hear the kids being mean to each other, calling each other names, and you just feel your blood boil over. I know that you are not the only one for sure, so I want you to know you are not alone. And we're going to be talking about managing mom rage and how to handle those triggers and understanding them and where they come from. So, for those of you that don't know me, I am Dana and I am the founder of Calm the Chaos. I am out of town right now, but yesterday I posted a chat and I asked you guys, what are some of your most common triggers? And over 200 responses came through. So this is definitely a challenge across everyone. And it's something that so many of you guys are struggling with, whether you're a mom or a dad or a teacher. If you are raising a child, especially a child with challenging behaviors, that can be incredibly difficult. So, I wanted to come live today and just talk about some of the common triggers that I saw after reading through all the comments and figuring out what were the most common ones. I want to talk about why this happens, both the science side, but also some of the things that are contributing to these specific triggers, and then what we can do about it so that when that mom rage or that parent rage starts to boil up inside of us, we know how to calm it and we know how to empower ourselves with a plan that can leave us feeling more connected with our kids and less disconnected. All right. So let's talk about some common triggers. Let me know in the comments first, what is one thing that just gets your goat? It just gets you going. It doesn't matter how good of a mood you're in. It doesn't matter how calm you are. It doesn't matter what's going on. If this thing happens, boom, you are just lit up overnight. Like it's the initial thing that happens, and you just almost can't hold back. You're yelling, you're nagging, your frustration, and you just blow your top. So let me know what yours are, and I'm going to share some of the most common ones. So the number one thing that came up was kind of this idea of disrespect and defiance. So when your kids are not following routines, even though they know what they should be doing, they're not doing their chores, you're having to repeat multiple times, they are talking back when you ask them to do something, or they're arguing back, or they have a tone of voice that feels incredibly disrespectful to you. They're not doing what you're asking. It feels like they don't respect you. They don't listen to you. You feel like you're being ignored. So I saw a lot of that. I saw so much. That was probably the top reason that parents are getting triggered, is because of this idea of disobedience, disrespectfulness, lack of respect, and feeling ignored and not listened to. And another one that I really saw a lot of, and I'm going to group these together even though they're a little different, but it's this idea of lying, dishonesty, meanness, rudeness, hurtfulness. I'm going to lump all that together because it kind of comes down to values, where there's this break in values. So we believe that, we have a value of being honest or being truthful, or we have a value in hard work, or we have a value in respecting each individual, or we have a value in accepting differences. And then when our kid goes against that, then we get triggered. How dare you be mean to them? How could you treat your brother like that? How could you talk to me like that? Like, why would you lie to me? If you gave me the honest answer, then you wouldn't be in trouble. Like, all those things start to come up. So that's the second most common challenge that I saw, is like, first was that disrespect and disrespect, talking back, and that kind of just disobedience. I saw that as number one. Number two was this like lack of values, right? Like lack of integrity, kind of like that lying, that dishonesty, the meanness, the rudeness, the unkindness. And then the other really big one that I heard is is interesting because not everybody understood where it was coming from. So I'm not going to tell you why it's happening, but first I'm just going to tell you what it was, and you guys can just let me know in the comments. I see Georgia saying yes, yes, check, check, right? So the thing that I heard a lot of was like noise, right? Like the insistent noise, the insistent touching, the insistent like just screaming, whining, yelling, just ridiculous noises coming out of your kids' mouths, but just that constant noise, that constant overwhelm or being touched out, kids constantly coming and be like, do, 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 like touch, 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 right? And so I saw that one as being a huge one that just kept coming up is like that constant questioning, that constant noise, that constant like just like movement and touching, all of that. And I'm going to lump that one in with mess and clutter and not cleaning. That seemed to kind of go together with this. I'm going to kind of lump all these together. And I'm also going to kind of lump in like the overtiredness, like when you're overtired type of thing, even though that's kind of like a cause. And then the last thing that I want to add that really was a big one that I saw so many of you guys talk about is this like judgment, criticism, other people telling you that you have a lack of skills, other people telling you what you should or shouldn't do, other people telling you that your child's behavior is your fault, other people not believing you about your child's diagnosis or about their challenges, other people thinking that you're making excuses, other people that, telling you that you're making your kids soft, all of those things. So it's these outside stressors. So I see a lot of people saying, yes, 5 for 5. I feel seen definitely on all 5 of those. So I want to break down, first of all, before I break it down, but I want to break down why this is happening. But before I dive into that, I want you guys to realize how not alone you are. Because when we're sitting in our own home and we're getting triggered by our kids talking back, when we're getting triggered by the constant noise or the constant mess, when we're getting triggered by people telling us that it's our bad parenting, when we're getting triggered by the what seems like an utter lack of respect for authority, and then when we get triggered because our kids are going against our values, we can feel like we're the only ones dealing with this mess, and that adds to the rage. That adds to getting triggered and getting frustrated. So the very first thing that we have to do is normalize this mess, normalize the chaos. The chaos is going to be inevitable, friends, but we can create plans for the chaos, and it's how we ride out the storms in the chaos that matter. So I'm not here to tell you that all this is going to magically swoop away after this live, but I want you to know that you are not alone. And just knowing that can be incredibly helpful in the moment when you feel like you are the only one dealing with something like this. Because what happens is all that judgment, all that shame, all that guilt, all that fear is going to build up inside of you and come out as rage. Okay? So that's the first thing, is just tell yourself, I am human. This is normal. Parents deal with this all over the world, and I'm not going through this alone. So that's like my biggest takeaway that I hope you guys take from this. All right, so let's talk about why this is happening from like a neuroscience standpoint, from a body standpoint. Why the heck are we really struggling with this? Why are we raging so bad when our kids act like this? So the very first thing is that we have to understand that our brain is designed to protect us. And so what it does is our brain has a function that says red alert, something dangerous is happening. Now, if we think that our kid is disrespecting us, going against our values, not being safe, not being kind, all those things are going to send off these red alerts in our brain. And our brain is going to do a couple of things. It is either going to fight, and that's where you're like, how dare you? Why'd you do that? What are you doing? What were you thinking? That's where you get that scratchy voice because you're yelling so loud, right? That's where you're mad cleaning and you're slamming drawers. The next one that it might do is flight. So flight is where you might, go and hide in the bathroom. Flight is where you might walk away from your kids and be like, I can't handle this. Just whatever, right? Flight can also look like sending your kids off and saying, that's it, just go to your room. I can't handle this right now. I can't see this right now. Like, I can't deal with you right now. And even if you're not using that type of language, that's still the message your kids are getting. And so that's what it might look like in flight. The other thing that your brain might do is something called freeze. So you might just completely shut down when this is happening. And what happens when you shut down is you're not addressing your feelings, your concerns, your hurt. You're just holding it all in, and you're just like, okay. And you may even do this by being like, they're having a hard time, not giving me a hard time, and you're just shutting down and you're holding it in and you're holding it in and you're holding it in. Well, eventually holding it in and never addressing the thing that you've been holding in for so long is going to explode, is going to pop, and you're gonna get into that fight response. Then the other thing that could happen, and I see this more often in responsive parents. I see this more often in tune parents who really do want to understand their kids, who really do want to use a positive approach, who really do want to empower their kids. I see this next response more often than not, and especially if you yourself are neurodivergent. I see this next response, and that is the fawn response, which is just fine. It's fine. Go away. It's fine. We'll be fine. It's fine. Just do what you want. Okay, fine. I'm not going to, I'll take care of it. I'll do it, right? Whatever you want. It's fine, right? Because we're so programmed to stay away from the trauma. We're so programmed to stay away from the explosion that we will do absolutely anything to make the pain go away. So those are the just automatic responses that can happen in our brain that cause us to have mom rage. Yet another reason for us to normalize mom rage, right? Or parent rage. Another reason to normalize it. It is your brain doing its job. It is trying to protect you against what it perceives as a danger, what it perceives as a problem. So, but what do? We beat ourselves up, right? What do? We're like, I can't believe I did that. I'm the worst parent ever. I should have known better. Or we're pissed at our kids and we're like, they should know better. Why'd they do that? They caused this to happen. I was having a great day and they just ruined it, right? So we go one or the other way. And all that does is tell our brain, yep, we were right. That was a perceived danger. We reacted correctly. And so the next time it's going to do it again, but maybe even stronger. So until we actually interrupt that system, that cycle, that habit of how we respond to chaos, how we react to chaos, it's going to keep happening, right? And so yes, Georgia's got it. She knows because she's one of our Next Up members is kiss your brain. Thank you, brain. Thanks for the warning. That's it, right? So the first one was, I'm normal. Okay. Yeah. Everyone is struggling with stuff like this. And then kiss my brain. Thank you, brain. Thank you for protecting me. Thank you for warning me. Now we got to have a little talk, right? So then you can have a talk with your brain and give it some new strategies. So I want to talk about why your brain's going off in the first place. Your brain is sending that signal in the first place because it perceives that there is a problem. And perception, here's the good news, is something we can change. We can change our perception. We can change our lens. We can change the way we see the behavior in front of us, the disrespect, the lack of values, the overwhelm, the stimulation, all those things. We can change the way we perceive most of the triggers. We're going to talk separately in just a minute about the noise and the mess and that sort of stuff in just a minute. But let's just talk about the ones that go against our values, that feel like they're going against us, that feel like our kids are doing this to us, that feel like our kids are being disrespectful and rude. And the underlying belief here is that we've done a bad job. That's really what's going on. Can we admit that, right? That when our kids are doing these things, it's that we have this underlying fear that we didn't teach them well enough, that we didn't provide them with enough guidance and tools so that they know how to behave and how to act and how to treat their brother kindly and how to treat people that are different than them. And we get so upset about that. And we're going to talk about the perceived danger with others in just a minute as well. So there's 3 different big categories here because you have to kind of train your brain in a different way for each of them, right? Yeah, it feels like a reflection of us. So let's talk about when it's against us, when it feels like it's against us, right? We have to give our brain a different belief system. So we have to say, that is not against me. This is not about me. This is not against me. And we have to move into curiosity. We have to say, that's interesting. I wonder why that's happening. Now, in the moment, friends, you are not going to ask, why is this happening? And you are not going to talk to your kids and you're not going to fix or solve or do anything. But in the moment, to keep you from rage, you have to move from resentful, frustrated, hurt, and you have to move into curiosity. And you have to remove the blame of your kid on you. You have to remove that and the blame and shame that you're putting on yourself. And so you just have to, you can say something like, this is hard, but this is tough, but so am I. This is hard, but I've gotten through it before. This is only a moment. This is not about me. Those are some of the things you can do to train your brain that you're okay, that you can get through this. Because now is not the time to start coming back and be like, why did you talk to me like that? How dare you talk to me like that? Because all you're doing now is you're having an argument about why they talked to you like that instead of having a discussion about the initial struggle of cleaning their room, right? Or their initial frustration with not being able to have electronics when they want it. Now you're having a fight over how they talk to you. So you're now you've lost all hope of solving the initial problem because you've gone down a detour. And you want to train your brain not to do that. So that's if it's perception based. Next is if it's sensory based. If it is sensory based, meaning it's loud, it's cluttered, you're touched out, you have to know your own system. You have to know your own body. What hurts me? What overwhelms me? What stresses me out? And know again that this isn't about you. That this isn't your child trying to hurt you, that your child's being a child. I can't tell you how many times I have parents of 2-year-olds tell me that their kid's being too loud. I can't tell you how often I hear parents of 7-year-olds telling me that they're playing their video game too loud or that they're repeating their favorite YouTube characters and it's so loud. And can we just talk about how everyone on YouTube screams, right? So there's so much noise. But if we blame others for that noise instead of thinking, what can I take control of? What action can I take that can limit or reduce that noise, that can reduce the touching? And so ahead of the moment, we have to come up with these tools and strategies that can take care of our own body, that can take care of our own health, our own sensory needs. So that might be that we have AirPods or we have Beats headphones or we just have those squishy little earplugs that you take to concerts. One of my good friends used to keep a big box of those squishy little airport the little pink squishy earplugs that come in their own packages. She used to keep a big box of those from Costco by her front door. And anytime her kids started to get too loud and she had the urge to yell, she'd go grab the earplugs and pop them in. That was her tool. And so we have to provide ourselves with a tool to help ourselves before placing the blame on others for how we're responding to it. Does that make sense? All right, so then we're going to move on to the third one. What if it's someone else? What if it's the way other people are treating your kids? What if it's the way that others are talking to you? What if it's the way that others are judging you? Well, in that instance, you have to decide. You get a choice. I can choose to give you all my energy and let you take away all my happiness and my joy and my love for my kid, and I can get triggered and I can yell at you and I lose all power. Or I can take care of me. I can remind myself that other people's opinions have nothing to do with me. They only have to do with their own trauma, background, belief system, and their own experience in the world. They have nothing to do with you. And the faster you can remember that, the more you can remind your brain of that, the easier it's going to be to remain calm and not get triggered in the moment. Now, that is not to say that it is not warranted. That is not to say that you do not have a right to be angry at the way people are treating you or your kids. And that's not to say that sometimes that mama bear needs to come out. But I can guarantee you that if you can take care of yourself first and then later be the bridge for that conversation, when you're calm, when you're coming from a good place, if there's someone that you would like to let them know how it affects you, how it affects your kid, and you want to advocate, then when you can advocate without isolating the other person, they are going to be far more willing to listen to what you have to say. But I want you to know that your feelings, your emotions, they're all valid. But it's about taking control of those feelings and those emotions and saying, okay, all right, I can do this. Not right now is a great one for that. Not right now. I'm not doing this right now. Okay? All right, so let's talk about, let me know, is this landing? Is this helping you guys? I know there's so many people who struggle with this, this rage and with getting triggered and then feeling there's this vicious cycle of then feeling bad about it when it happens. So let me know in the comments, did any of that help you, right? Any of that, why it's happening, and little simple tips for what you can do. So we talked about perception, right? One of the reasons why our brain is getting triggered and going off is because it perceives danger. Another reason is because we are in sensory overload and overwhelm, and our brain is protecting us. And then the last one is because we are trying to protect ourselves and our children from outside danger. And so those are 3 of the reasons why it's happening. Now, what can we do about it? I truly believe that if you're getting triggered, and look, guys, I was like a yeller of all yellers. And I used to yell so bad that my throat just hurt and I would lose my voice. And I would yell, and then I could hear myself inside going, why are you yelling? Stop. What are you doing? Why are you saying that? But I couldn't stop it. It was still coming out because I had exploded beyond a point of return. And so I get it. I've been there. This is not me saying that I'm perfect. I still have moments where I slip, especially if I'm overtired, if I haven't taken care of my own body, if I'm overly touched out, if all the things are kind of falling apart in the same day, right? So those are, that is kind of like the biggest thing that I want you to take away is that you have to take care of you. And I don't mean like, hey, I'm really pissed off at you right now for not cleaning your room. I'm going to go take a bubble bath. Like, that is not what I'm saying, friends. So please don't hear that. What I'm saying is, if perception is the reason you're getting triggered, and I see the question from Georgia saying, will you be doing fawn? If you're getting triggered because of perception, it can come out as fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. If you're getting triggered because of sensory, it can be fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. If you're getting triggered because of protection, it can be fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Okay, so your response can be the same depending on what the reason is. Okay, so, but the solution is pretty similar across the board. So if perception is your struggle, you have to remind your brain that it is not as it seems, right? So the easiest way to do that is with something we call thought monsters and super swaps. So that would be if you perceive that there is something going on and it is causing your brain to put up red flags and get triggered, then it's about changing the perception. My kid never listens. My kid is always disrespectful. My kid is so rude, to my kid wants to feel heard and seen. Sure, they're not asking the way they need to, but they want to feel heard and seen, just like I do. Just like I do. Now is not the time. I just need to pause. Right? Now that's way too many words for your brain when you're triggered. Let's just be honest. So now is not the time is a good reminder. We put our hand on our heart, take a deep breath. He's not disrespectful. He wants to be heard. He's not disrespectful. He wants to be heard. That's it. Okay, so that calms your brain and says, all right, let's get curious here. What is he trying to say? If it is sensory overload, it is the same thing, but your tool might be a little different because no amount of thought swaps are going to help if it is a true sensory overload. So you need a tool. You need to ahead of time know what are your sensory triggers, what are your body triggers, and then know that ahead of time so that as you feel that temperature rising, you can say, I'm grabbing my headphones. It's too loud in here. I'm going to move to the other side of the room. Or I just need a moment. I'm going to sit over here for a second and catch my breath. Or I want to hug you, but right now I'm touched out. But you've got to come up with one tool. That's it. Don't come up with all the ones I just said. Just one tool when you're feeling so overwhelmed and stressed out. Now, the last one, if it is protection, if you're getting triggered because of protection, then what you want to do is you want to make sure you can do those thought swaps, right? But you want to get really clear on your values beforehand. You want to get really clear on what you have control over and what you can actually change. If you're not going to change the other person, if you're not going to be able to affect based on your actions right now, their immediate thoughts, beliefs, and actions, then you have to say, this is not about me. How much I care about my kid matters more than your opinion. You don't have to say that out loud because, boy, you might get in a fight there, right? But you're going to come up with something you can say to yourself or something to them that advocates for your own needs, for your own beliefs, and then you can remove yourself because you don't need to stay around that person, and you definitely don't want to play their thoughts over and over and over again in your head. So that's why you want to surround yourself with people that understand, people who believe the same thing that you believe about children, people that are on this journey, raising challenging kids, wanting to empower them because they believe that they are the future of humanity. That is why you want to surround yourself with other people. And don't worry about the people who aren't on board yet. They'll come along slowly, hopefully, right? But right now, focus on what you can control. All right, we talked about a whole lot. I'd love to know, biggest takeaway on this chat. It's been a while since I've done a live, but I want to leave you with one last thing to help calm your brain. And we've done this one before, but it's the hand to heart breath. And so this is one thing I do anytime I feel my blood boiling, anytime I feel my body starting to get all tensed up and I feel that I'm about to get triggered. I will stop, plant my feet in the ground, and I will take 1 second to put my hand on my heart and take a deep breath in. One more time. This reminds my body that I am safe. This reminds my brain that I'm okay, that I can do hard things. This reminds my brain that I am a good parent and my kid is an amazing kid. And right now is just a hard moment. So, hand to the heart. I can do this. And then I want you to focus on progress, not perfection. If you have been raging and you get triggered really easily, this is not going to go away overnight. Your brain has habits, it has different pathways that path of least resistance. This is the way that we're going to do things. So give yourself space and grace to make mistakes and take it one step at a time. And if this has been helpful at all, I highly recommend, if you haven't already, go to meltdownmastery.com, because there I'm going to walk you through how to create an in-the-moment plan for the biggest tantrums, meltdowns, outbursts, and even your own. And so that you can remain calm, know what to say, know what to do. So I highly recommend. It's a free workshop. You just have to go to meltdownmastery.com. So just type in the comments mastery, and I will make sure that my team finds a way to get you the link to meltdownmastery.com so you can watch that workshop. So, and if you know anyone else that you think this would be helpful for, please tag them. Please share with them, because we need to normalize this parent rage. We need to normalize the perception, the sensory overwhelm, and the protection that causes us to go into mom rage. And then we need to normalize that it's okay to make mistakes. You guys are amazing. And I want to remind you, if you are here, you are doing the best you possibly can with everything you have. You are an amazing parent and you are not a failure. And number 2, your child is not broken. They do not need to be fixed or molded or shaped. They are exactly the child they were designed to be. And with that, I'm going to say goodbye and tell you to go forward, conquer your day, and you guys are absolutely amazing. Be sure to put mastery in the comments, and I will see you on the next live. Bye, guys.